Hey everybody, gonna give you like step 2 on this Willys here. Like I'd said in previous videos, I want to try to keep you more involved in what I'm doing here and explaining why I'm doing it. So I'm to the point now I'm mocking up the cross member because I know where that needs to go in a 4-link car, and starting to cut the frame rail. So I want to show you guys that, show you a clip of the Mustang on the ground. Jerry and Karen are going to come look at that this week or weekend, I'm hoping, and that'll help a ton here. So here goes nothing. As you can see, the front end's on it. I got the camera crooked. Here you go. I made these little T-pieces so I can slide it forwards and backwards temporarily, and then also keep this body line right. This line here needs to be right, and then I need to tighten up this margin here. And what I'll do is I'll shove that back tight and get some Clecos in it where I want Zeus fasteners, and that'll hold everything in place until I'm ready to put Zeus fasteners and stuff in it. Next step we'll do here is probably prop the Hemi up in this thing and the transmission to see where it all goes. So, but let me give you a peek inside. Okay, what I've done here is I've built a substructure off of my uprights. Maybe I better look down here. See that tube there? Front to back, and it's level front to back and side to side. That gives me a place to mount my little bracket, temporary bracket I built there to hold the cross member in place. In the back, what I do, as you can see, I've got my rear end fixture where it needs to be right now. I know from when I mocked the body up on the floor where the rear axle center line was going to be. So, and I measured that from the bottom of the B pillar where I showed you that little hole to the center of the wheel, and that told me my wheelbase. Okay, of course we know the height is 36 inches, so we're good there. Then what I do is I clamp, as you can see, I've clamped framing squares to the front of the jig. They butt into the front of that jig. And I know with this 4-link that I'm going to use in this car, from the axle center line to the back of that cross member that I tacked together is 24 inches. So in this instance, I don't need the rear end housing to locate that cross member. It'll locate a bunch of other stuff once I get it in here, but right now I know that if I measure, say it's bumped into that tube and it's 2-inch square tubing, I measure 23 inches forward off that square, and that's where my cross member is going to be. I determined the height I wanted it because what I'm going to end up doing is, if you can see in there, I'm going to end up, if I can get my finger there, I'll end up drilling a hole in there and welding a nut on the inside so the body can bolt to the bottom of that cross member when I'm done. Okay, and as you can see, I've only tacked it together in case I got to move something. I'm going to wait on welding this up until I know everything's hunky-dory. That loop should be in the right spot. And I don't know if I've told you guys, I get those from Checkered Racing. They're down in southern Indiana. Great group of guys, super good service. Love using their products. So if you're looking to buy parts and pieces like their ladder bars, they sell in varying lengths, which I'll use more of their stuff. I've been building my own lately, but it's just like some of this stuff is just so labor intensive that it doesn't make a lot of sense. So they're in. I told you about, I usually build my own housings. This one here I'm just going to buy from Mosier finished, because I'm using that rear bracket, their rear bracket, and of course I got to buy the housing from them. So I thought, you know, it's just worth a little bit of extra money and saving the time for me. So with a 4-link car you can do that, but ladder bar cars you basically need to get everything mocked up so you can tack weld the brackets on where they go. If you try to have ladder bar brackets welded on a housing, typically you can't never get the pinion angle right. So I don't recommend that. But this here, being it's a 4-link car, I thought, man, just to save myself 3 days, I'll have them build the housing and I can work on other stuff. So that's where I'm at with that. So anyways, back to this inner structure. I made it level, side to side, front to back, and then I made those little uprights to hold the cross member plumb. You know, this face is plumb, and then level side to side. And it's 24 inches from the axle center line. That's my start. And I do the same thing like when I'm building a ladder bar car. Of course, the housing's in place. I use the ladder bar to determine where the cross member goes. And I build enough of them. I know what that dimension is, but it's just how I've always done it. I want to make sure I don't miss nothing, or, you know, who knows. Nobody's perfect, especially me. So if I was perfect, I wouldn't be doing this stuff. Go figure, right? That's what my wife says anyways. So anyways, I got that done. And then this front one, I'm going to try to show you that. I'll move this out of the way. That front one's even with the bottom of the rocker, or pretty close. So what I've done is I've made this piece here. I just tacked little tabs on it there, and it slides in and out. It's not permanent. And what I'll do is when I'm ready to place the rails, I will prop that thing up to the height I need it, which will make the front rail level. So what I've got going on here now is this floor has a 5-degree rake in it, okay? So what I did on the back, and it looks like it's a little open, but it's just sitting in there crooked. I cut a 5-degree angle on the back side. I determined my length, and I wanted it to be up here, like towards the firewall area, like where this all ended. And this rail here will run out level for quite a ways. I know that I've got them rough cut 32 inches long, so I know it's going to be at least 32 inches they go out. And then they will drop down to the front. I'll show that in an upcoming video, but my thing right now is to get these pieces tacked in the car, and the front rails tacked to them, so then I could set that Hemi engine and the power glide up in here and get all that located to make sure I'm not doing nothing dumb yet, which who knows, well, yeah, I'm doing this, so I'm doing something dumb. So anywho, these cuts here, I never cut one square, and let's say I wouldn't cut this at 5 degrees and the other one square. That's a 2.5 degree angle, and I cut a 2.5 degree angle on the 32 inch long piece, so that this ends up level when I'm doing it. So typically what you do when you're figuring an angle like that, you measure the angle divided by 2, and that's what your cut is. So, and I always I wanted to show you this. I'll find it somewhere. I thought I drew it on this tube here. I guess I didn't. Typically I'll draw, like when I'm cutting these, I'll sort of just draw a rough line on there so that I know my angle's going the right direction. Yeah, and I don't see them on this one, but typically I do. So, because I've cut the angles backwards before, you know, trying to multitask, which I do horribly. So, maybe these pieces have it. Well, I'm wrong again. Oh yeah, there's one right there. I draw a symbol like that on it to tell me that I want the angle to cut this way. Okay? I'm sure I did it on the other one. But anyways, then what I do, I know this is my angle then. This end down here is square. This one's a 2.5 degree angle. I'm going to pull one of these frame rails out here and show you that real quick. So it'll only take a millisecond or two. I chamfer these ends. See how I've done that? I know I'm getting you nice and close, but I chamfer those ends so that I get full penetration on my weld, about a 45 degree angle. And I'll tack them together. Then when I'm done welding them, I'll put a gusset plate on the outside and the inside of this. I'll show you. On the Mustang, you can see them fairly easily, I think. Yeah, you can see one of them right there. I weld those over the top. I've done them internally. Either way works, but I like to be able to see that fish plate. So anywho, when I'm done, I'll trim the, as you can see this, it's probably set up for a 4-inch rail. So that rocker is an inch higher than the top of that frame rail. So I'll end up cutting that rocker down once I know I'm exactly where I need to be. But that's where I'm at with this so far. I just wanted to share that. And like I say, Jerry and Karen are coming to see the Mustang tomorrow, or not tomorrow, maybe this weekend. But I got the front clip on it. You know, wheels are bolted on. And I know this looks funny here. It looks like the wheel forward in the opening, but it's actually not. It's where it's supposed to be. It's just that that front axle is wider than the original Mustang would have been. So, and it had a lot smaller tire. You know, these things would have had a 13 or a 14-inch tire on them, so it fit the wheel opening different. But that's just how this is, and they want the wheelbase the same, so I made it exactly the same. When I started, I'll show you this. Right there, I've got 33.5 inches of the spindle center line from the front edge of the rocker. And then the engine is 96 inches out to the back of the block from the face of the housing. That's what a Mustang and a Falcon are, so. You gotta be careful with these kind of cars. Make a bunch of power, and what you're concerned with, you start sliding the motor way back in these cars, you know, say you're making 700 horsepower, you start sliding the motor way back in these cars, and then the things are, they're wheelie prone. So you try to keep it out typically in original location. They've got a recommendation, like I think it's the setback of the engine could be like 10% of the total wheelbase. So if you're 101 inches, you know, you can be, what, 11 inches back, so. Or 10 and a 10th or whatever, yeah. So 10 inches basically back. This is not that way. I've got the front spark plug pretty even with the axle center line, so that's where we're at. I wanted to show you this stuff, what's going on, keep you guys in a loop. Next step, I'll keep you informed. Thanks again for watching.